Now, get ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live studio. Subscribe or follow today.
Hey, it's Michael here from Oilers Live. Back at you with a Thursday night edition, 8:30 start, although we're running a little bit behind here today. It's Mr. Mike Dursa and myself. How you doing, Mike?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing quite well, thank you. We,
Sorry.
man, hey.
Pull the Bob Stoffer on you.
Time to wake up here a little bit. So I see, there's a little bit of Oilers news to talk about. Some not so good, some, kind of interesting, a few things to discuss today. Let's start with the not so good news, which is the Colby Cave stuff that, happened the other day, a brain bleed, it sounds like. And, and he's ended up in hospital, but I think he's still doing all right. He's maybe not through the woods yet, but he's in an induced coma. And I understand, first off, his wife posted an Instagram message that will break your heart. I made the mistake of reading it while I was in a meeting today and just broke up. Anyway, it's... I guess the one good thing is he's through surgery and still in a coma and brain's trying to heal is what is all that I could take, unless if you've heard anything else.
No. The first thing is I guess they found a brain bleed, and that obviously is not a good sign. And they got him in for surgery. And sometimes you don't survive that surgery, so I guess the first thing is that he got through that, so that's definitely a positive. But it's hard on your whole system, obviously, when you go through a brain surgery. So they've got him still in a coma, but I don't know really how it works, if it's up to him to come out of that or they try to take him out of that. But I think right now for him, he's resting and kind of needs, to recover and then hopefully come out of this coma.
Yeah, it's it's been quite the year for and thanks, boss says her thoughts and prayers are with him. Absolutely. The thing is this has been just the craziest of years, 2020. I feel like if I'm on Twitter or whatever social media platform I'm on, it just seems like there's something awful going on everywhere. And this part of doing this live stream a couple times a week is to bring spirits up, but that doesn't mean that we can't, or shouldn't talk about some of these things. From people's lifelong pet companions passing away to family members. It's a tough time, and just want to say, if there's lots of people out there that would be willing to talk to you, or you could reach out to, including myself. I think Mike, your ear and your messages are always open if people want to chat. But what a year! I mean, wow. We sit here, we chat about hockey, which is pretty much lighthearted stuff and that, but that's why we're here. We're not here to focus on all of the bad, because there's certainly tons of that. Let's move on to something a little bit different. Mr. Slepyshev, Anton Slepyshev, has now signed with, is it CKSA or CSK?
Yeah.
CKSA?
I think you got it right off the bat.
With
KHL.
Moscow in the KHL. And so he won't be coming back to the Oilers. What was your thought? Would you have liked to see him back in the Oilers?
Well, I think Ken Holland was probably in the wheelhouse, because he tendered the offer I'm gonna say on Tuesday, and so we find out Thursday today, that he went with. I think that's the same club he was with, this past season. So to me, that tells me that Ken, made him think about it a little bit, but either it wasn't quite enough money, or maybe he wanted to be considered a top six guy. I don't know the details of that, and we won't know that, I don't think. But it does tell me like he didn't re-sign with his team in Russia that day, so you made him think about it a little bit. So the Oilers, had some interest there, and I don't know how it works because it was a 2-year deal that he signed now to be back in the KHL. I am not the capologist that knows that. Okay, after that 2 years, do we still retain his rights? I'm not sure, or it becomes just a regular free agent. I'm not sure how that part works, but I would have liked to seen him come. I he can skate. He's got that heavy snap wrist shot, but it's not the end of the world. It is what it is. It's would have been okay. I'm not going to say that he would have came back and been lights out, because nobody really knows that. He had a good second half of the season in the KHL, but KHL still isn't the NHL. So
Yeah, no,
okay,
it's not the same. I mean, obviously that's home for him, so I think that's probably
yeah,
weighs partly into it. But he is a star in that league, right? So that's got to be another part. We've had a lot of Russian players come over and then just opt to play in the KHL because they like it. They're used to it. That's their home. It might be different, for North Americans going the other way. Obviously, I mean the culture is a little bit different. Obviously, language, etc. But I'm not surprised by it. Right? I was
no,
actually, to me, I mean it depends on what his I haven't heard the details of the offer, but
yeah, and we might.
yeah, and depending on the player, they can throw a lot of money at them at the KHL, right? If they, although I've heard some horror stories of players not getting paid, etc. I don't know if that
Yeah,
sort of
yeah,
thing's
and you know
true.
what? I think I heard. I can't remember if it was somebody like Friedman or Saravalli, or one of those guys say that I think things are tightening up over there now in Russia, that they aren't as freewheeling. That they're going to have to watch their expenditures a little bit, because those teams aren't raking in the cash. So
Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna get Marcus Boudelier in on right away in about the next 5 minutes, and he's going to talk to us about the young phenom Shane Wright, who's playing in the OHL right now. Who, by the way, is getting early comparisons to Mr. McDavid, and not from a speed level, but just from a overall talent level. So we'll get him on right away. Have you watched any clips of Shane Wright yet?
Marcus gave me homework, but I gotta confess I haven't done enough of it. I've seen that he possesses a pretty good shot as well.
Yeah, he's definitely an all-around player. He's as I said, he doesn't have the speed of McDavid, but he's got like he's definitely end to end. He can do everything. He's got amazing hockey sense. Definitely, if you go, just go onto YouTube and do a search, and you'll find lots about him. The other, well, you know what? Why don't we? Why don't we save it for the guest who knows him well? Marcus has been following the Frontenacs all year, and so it was pretty good that way. So we're gonna get.
I'm unavailable at this time. Can you please leave a
Oh,
message? I'll return your call. Thank you.
maybe not unavailable. He says. All right. Well, let's drop you, and then we'll try you back again. Wow. Maybe we're unavailable, Marcus. You ever think about that? Who does this guy think he is? All right.
Well,
All right. All right. We will get Marcus on right away. What other Oilers news is going on?
oh, what else is there?
Well, we were talking off air. It seems that there is still a push to keep the season going, right? Like this is still a big deal for the teams. Now, you got to think that part of that is just trying to get whatever revenue they can. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, Gary Bettman's not thrown in the towel yet. So, and I mean, he's right in his day-to-day, life is right in the epicenter of, the worst part of this whole thing in North America. So, I don't know. Maybe he knows something we don't. But for me personally, I don't see it, getting out of the way in New York City before, the August, really. I mean, it's hard to know, really, but
what's your thoughts of going to this one city format?
I'm unavailable at this time. Can you please leave a message?
Wow.
Today I didn't hear it all, so maybe I'm speaking out of school, but I thought I heard the NBA is thinking of starting to televise games of horse with I think like 3 players at like one gym, and they probably get tested before they start, and it's a game of horse televised. But the NBA is going to start doing that. I thought I heard it was going to be Saturday, like this weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I haven't heard anything like that yet.
Yeah. No, I just kind of heard. I think it was on either 6:30 or 12:60 or something at the end of my day, but I had a kind of a busy work day, so I might be getting the details a little bit wrong.
Oh, there we go. We got Marcus now. Sorry, Marcus. Just give us a second. Mike's just finishing a thought here. So,
well, maybe Marcus knows. Did you hear anything about the NBA starting to televise games of horse today? Like, not actually televising the games today, but that whole thought process of doing that, like right away. Do we have him? I can't hear him if we do.
Marcus, you there?
Yeah, no, sir. I didn't know if you were talking to me or not.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
So, yeah, no, it's just, maybe just catch me up then. What were you asking?
I heard today, and I just kind of roughly heard it, but the NBA is going to start televising games of horse with like 3 players at one kind of gym, and they'll probably get tested before they go in. But did you hear anything on that?
So the NBA, you're saying, is talking about having 3-on-3 things?
Horse, just horse, games of horse.
So explain
just
what
so
that is.
No, I hadn't heard.
Just so that we're watching sports again, basically.
Yeah, no, I hadn't heard. I mean, I'm not, you'd be blind, I'm not a big basketball fan, but I mean, I can appreciate what anybody's trying to do now, and I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if I can find something on it.
I'd watch, a lot of things. I'd watch cricket right now if it could.
Yeah.
All right, let's not get carried away.
You got to have some pretty good hand-eye for that sport.
Well, actually, what the only thing I don't like about cricket is it takes too long. But those guys.
Well, you got to pack a lunch in a hotel room, and I mean, what do they go a week long sometimes?
Yeah, if they're playing the traditional match or whatever, I don't even know what they call it, but they do a modified match. I don't know enough about it, but it's a different game, and one that I don't think that I've ever watched a full match. But those guys, when they're out in the field, they can sure grab a ball. Hey, we're while he's looking
just watch
that
the
up.
top 100 highlights of the year. You'll see some good catches. Yeah, go ahead.
While he's trying to figure that out, let's talk about Shane Wright. We've got a couple people watching on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. I think one of Mike's friends is watching on Facebook, Chad Graham. I don't know, Mike, if you know him.
Yeah,
But
Chad's a goalie.
he's a goalie. He says
Yeah.
his comment is he doesn't have McDavid's slow-mo sense, but he's a great kid and wicked hockey player, but he's not at McDavid's level. I know that and that's one of the things that Oilers fans are going to talk about, and there's no denying McDavid's just faster with the puck still than anybody out there. But sorry, reading some of the comments going on out here, what's your thought? I mean, give us your overall opinion. You've actually watched this kid play live a lot, and so give us the introduction to Shane Wright for those Oilers fans that don't know.
Yeah, I just made some background. I'm sure the fellas with it on the show with you and yourself know that this, I'm not detracting from Connor McDavid. As you guys know, he's my favorite player outside of the Washington Capitals. But I think first, before we even begin, they're two different players. And I think, it's all right to compare them because when two things are different, you should compare them. I mean, that's the whole point of comparisons. But I guess for my view in terms of, your first question is, I guess, pretty loaded regarding him and Connor McDavid. So right now, obviously Connor McDavid's a better hockey player and he's better with the puck, faster and everything. But I would argue, and, stats show it. I watch them live all the time. As you know, I used to watch Andrei Burakovsky a lot, so I got to see McDavid and Neary quite a bit. And it's not just we're not talking about who's the better goal scorer, or who's the better a skater per se, or who's the better passer, or who's better hockey IQ. We're just looking at who's the better all-around hockey player. And right now, this season, as a 15-year-old, it is Shane Wright. And I saw McDavid play back then. We're not talking about is Shane Wright going to be as good as McDavid at his age in the NHL now? That remains to be seen, of course. But we just saw a kid play 58 games with 39 goals, 27 assists, 66 points. Now, that's all better than McDavid. He's finished only 5 goals shy of John Tavares' record, which McDavid didn't hold. That was Tavares' goal record of 44. And remember, his season was shortened, so he didn't even have a chance to break that. So he actually had a better season stat-wise than Connor McDavid. And with all due respect to some of the players on Kingston, he wasn't playing with some of the players McDavid was. So, it's hard to argue to say that why wouldn't you say he had a better year this year than Connor McDavid in his first year in Erie?
Yeah, no, and you know what, I think, for those that have had any chance to watch any of his games or anything like that, I mean, you just can't deny that this kid's a talent, right? And so, there's always going to be the what happens when, right? I mean, there was that same talk happened when McDavid was coming up, right? Like, when
you betcha,
when he was 15, everybody knew he was going to be a star, but there were detractors even then, even in his first year. And then we look at a guy like Hughes, right? Who everybody expected great things from in his first year, and it wasn't quite the roaring success that everybody thought it was. So you never know. You can't know until they get there. I mean, the NHL game's a different game,
and
right?
that's all. Yeah, and that's all fair. And I think we're talking about projections. So, I mean, I don't think anybody's ridiculous to sit here and have a conversation thinking that Shane Wright's a better hockey player than Connor McDavid right now. And I'm sure that's not what the question was. But at 15, in my opinion, he is. Now, whether that transcends to when he's 16, 17, 18, and right up into where McDavid is in his career in the NHL right now, that obviously remains to be seen. But I'll say this much: he's just as big as McDavid was or is now. He's already 5'11", 180 pounds, and McDavid's a little lighter than that going into the OHL. And he has the ability to play a different game, right? So McDavid, I mean, let's be real, he could probably beat most players out there by himself if he wanted to. Certainly, if they're playing shinny out there, he would be the best player regardless. But there are other players who play a different game when they have players around them. And I think people are going to find that Wright's ability to play an all-around game is what's going to separate him. Clearly, he's much better in my mind on face-offs already. Clearly, he's much better in his two-way game already. And those are the things I think that you just don't see. I mean, you see the highlights and you see the goals and the stats, and And let me be clear, I didn't think he was going to be this good. I know I talked to a couple of you guys throughout the season, and I spent a lot of time talking with Sean. And for those that don't know, I cover the Kingston Frontenacs for the OHL Network, so I've seen every shift this kid's played, and it just got better and better. And so, you know, whether it's myself or his coach or his teammates, he just kept outdoing expectations. So I don't know. I guess I would like to hear the argument from some as to, when we're talking about the specifics of this year, as to why they may think McDavid had a better year, if this is all we're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody
He's the
would
youngest.
argue that
Oh, by the way,
he's
he's the youngest CHL captain or assistant captain in CHL history. You know, he's already a leader on his team.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think that you know, and I don't think there'd be that argument. There are some that have, you know, I've just reading about him and watching some of them, and obviously, if you're in Kingston and you're, you know, a Frontenacs fan, you're gonna say everything you would, right? It's just like talking to, if he turned out to be better than McDavid, no Oilers fan would ever admit to that at any point. You know, that's just
I
just
think
the
the beautiful thing with me is I've as you know, because I know I've spoken to you lots over the years. Connor McDavid's awesome. This is not about what he isn't. It's about what Wright could be.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell
us
a little
and I
bit.
think some people aren't ready for another. I don't know if some people are ready for another player that good to come in the league, you know, and you know, it's hard to fathom that, right? And so, you know, in my mind, McDavid's still really young. Well, obviously he is. He's just come into his own. I don't even think we've seen the best of him yet. But it's hard for some people to fathom, I think, that there could be someone as good as him coming in the league in the next 3 years.
And have you, in your time watching him, have you had a chance to watch this other guy that's getting exceptional player status in the WHL, Connor Bedard, at all? Have you seen any clips about it?
I've seen that. Yeah, I know. I wouldn't claim that. You know, I've watched full games, but I have seen clips, and I've talked to some people around this area, some good hockey guys, and you know, there's no detraction there with the skill set, and obviously he's going to be a franchise cornerstone for a junior team, and the likelihood of making the NHL is there. But there's a big difference again, and when we get into these kinds of things, especially with exceptional status players, there's a reason even too why Matt Savoy. There was questions why he didn't play last year underage, and part of that has to do with size, and you guys can just go look for yourself and see the size of Bedard, and I'll be interested to see how he lasts in the WHL, which tends to be a little more physical of a league. Again, Shane Wright came into the OHL surprisingly as a 15-year-old, already 5'11", 180.
Yeah.
So, you know, his skills aside, I just hope he, you know, we'll see. I don't know how he's going to do in the WHL physically, and that's really the only question. Can he play? You know, I think there's lots of 15-year-olds that can play major junior hockey in Canada and score goals as much as Wright or Bedard. But the difference is, and I'm sure they've done the same with Bedard and Wright, is also, are they aware? Do they understand? I mean, Shane is the most, you know, media requested person everywhere Kingston goes, and as a 15-year-old, you've got to be able to do that. It's not easy, and for him to have success on top of all of that, and be a leader on his team, and be a Scholastic, you know, Player of the Month through the OHL, and doing all the stuff he does on the side, that it just shows that he's also years above off the ice, not just on the ice. And so I'm sure they've done that with Bedard, and I'm sure he's able to handle it. But there is one different factor between, in my opinion, him or Savoy. And if you look back, McDavid wasn't small, but he didn't weigh 180 pounds back then. I don't recall, but you know, he did quite well. I'm just saying Shane's already a big enough player that the physical nature of the game is not an issue, in which case allows him to play a couple years ahead. But it's the off-ice stuff that he's ahead of too, and I'm sure Bedard's like that, and we just won't know until then. But I've seen him in interviews, heard him in interviews, and he sounds like he's got a good head on his shoulders as well.
Yeah. So what strikes you as kind of his, you know, his number one feature? Like what's the best part of his game? And I know that you know, if I listen and read about him, everybody talks about just how, you know, balanced of a player he is. But what's really sort of stands out for you?
Like in terms of like you mean, I don't know, like it's hard with him because obviously with him being at West Island, we get to see him as much as you guys.
Yeah.
But you're talking about Bedard right now.
No. Sorry, I'm back to Shane Wright. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, what was the? So you just want to know? Sorry, what?
Yeah, I mean, so everybody talks. I mean, obviously about how just an all-around game he has, but what's the one sort of standout thing for Shane Wright for you?
Well, it comes back to desire, because whether, you know, he it's hard to, you look at goal totals, and clearly a kid that young is going to score more goals, but that's not what he's about. He's a team player through and through. I mean, it's a tight team to begin with. 4 other rookies came into the team with him last year. Kingston actually drafted a teammate of his out of Don Mills Flyers, who had won the championship year before for the Canadian Midgets. So Shane and Francesco both came here. So it's a tight team. And I just think that he's everything he does with a desire. So whether he's on the ice, he's not there to score goals. He's there to win the game. So that might be an assist, might be a goal. He's one of the best takeaway players in the league already, and he plays in all scenarios. So it's just his ability to play everywhere and make people around him better. I'm sure you guys have now heard of Zayde Wisdom, who's probably going to get, he's going to get drafted. It's just a matter of where now. Nobody was on anybody's list at the start of the year. And that's not just because of Shane. It's because his ability to play with players around him, and it makes them better because their skill sets now become that much more amplified. So teams now have to defend Shane and Zayde. And then, of course, when Martin Chromiak came in, it created just a 3-headed monster. So, when he's around, it's just, again, it's a desire to win. And he's obviously had acceptance of his teammates, some of them as much as 4 years older than him, to be named as one of the captains on the team. And that was a team decision, player decision, obviously. So he's got all the tools in terms of leadership, in terms of playing style. He doesn't like to talk about himself. As a matter of fact, I was in Flint, Michigan the night he broke the rookie franchise goal record this year, which Bernie Nichols held a long time ago. And Shane broke that record in Flint, actually scored a hat trick. And I talked to him after the game, and he didn't want to talk about the record. He just wanted to talk about the fact they had won 4-1, and it was a huge win actually in Flint that night. So he's just a team guy, and is much like McDavid was. So, clearly when a guy's a team guy and you have people around you that support you and want to play as a team with you, it's going to make for a great dynamic down the road. And I fully expect Kingston to be one of the best teams in the CHL within 2 years.
Yeah. Okay. So that was going to be my next question. If you saw him as kind of one of those players that will change the outlook for Kingston in the upcoming years, if not next year, the year after. How long do you think until Kingston is back up?
Well, I mean, 2 years ago, they were, that's what got them, Shane, right? So,
Yeah.
Obviously a very poor year 2 years ago, finishing last. So this year they came in and started off 1-18, so things weren't looking good. Now, during that stretch, there were a couple losses to some really top teams in overtime. As you know, teams can get into a little bit of a funk where, you might deserve to lose 5 games, but there's a couple in the middle of those 5 games that you lost when you might have won, so it turns into an 8-game losing stretch. So things weren't quite as bad on the ice as they were on the record, but moving forward, they as the season ended, unfortunately early, they were in a playoff spot. So next year, I fully expect them to actually improve. So they're set to be in the playoffs next year. Don't expect them to win any conferences or even their division, but just sort of building towards even home ice advantage. I think they can do that next year. They're building this team over the next 2 years. I think as you guys know very well with Connor McDavid, once Edmonton drafted him, I'm pretty sure everybody thought he was making the team. So Shane won't be back in Kingston when he gets drafted, likely first overall. And what would that be? 22, I guess it'd be. So they're building towards, obviously next year like to win, but this is all over the next 2 years. And in junior hockey, lots of things go into draft picks and, trades that build up to those types of years to where you're probably risking having a poor season the year after, depending on how things go. But clearly the team is building around Shane Wright, just like, your Edmonton Oilers out there should be doing. And that's, junior hockey, you only have such a short window. It's why it's such a hard trophy to win. So, he's not going to guarantee anything. You guys know, again, Connor McDavid did not win a Memorial Cup championship, so there's nothing guaranteed here. But certainly with the players coming in that they're putting around him, I suspect that there's going to have no issues, at least being a contender, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, from what I've seen, I mean, he's clearly a game changer. Of course, the season being shortened so far for the NHL, and then who knows what's going to happen going forward. But one of the questions, obviously, is going to be around the draft. You watch the OHL regularly. Who should we be watching? Who do you think might be a good pick if you've even thought about it? But from the Oilers' perspective, what kind of guys are coming out of the OHL? I mean, Quentin Byfield, obviously, but there's got to be some others that we should be watching out for.
Yeah, and I'm sure, I don't know if he when's the last time you guys talked to the old oil night there, but me and him are both on the same page with someone we've already spoke up tonight, Martin Chromiak here in Kingston. He's a winger on Shane Wright's line, and he'd come over here from Slovakia, so he'd already been playing men's hockey, and he had signed as an import, drafted as an import pick in the CHL last year by Kingston. So he came over here just after the World Junior tournament, and he lit it up. And mostly because, his own shot. But when you're playing with a center like Shane Wright who can set you up, clearly things were going well for him. So Chromiak had snuck in up there. I believe we'd seen him in the sort of the 60 to 70 round range. And I've seen some scouts now have him up into the 30 range. And so, is there potentially Oilers could pick up a player like him at the end of the first round? Yeah, possibly. And I think he'd be a good fit out there. I think Sean probably have some more insight into that one, so I might want to ask him about Chromiak as far as how he fits in with the Oilers. But as far as what I see here in Kingston, he's a hell of a prospect for sure. He's got a wicked shot, changes his angles very well. Talking with Curtis Foster, former Evans Norther for you guys out there. So he coaches the Kingston Frontenacs now, and I'm lucky enough to be able to talk to him after the games and practices. And so, some of the things that we're talking about here, I've learned from him in terms of what these players are like. So it's so some familiar face for you guys out there. But I think with regards to anybody else that I'm not as familiar with in Kingston, but you point out Byfield, but also Cole Perfetti. I'm sure you've heard the name.
Yeah, you bet.
He's a hell of a goal scorer. 61 games. He had only 37 goals. And I say only because he had a real tough start to the season in terms of scoring, but he ended up finishing 111 points, second in the OHL. So he's someone that's definitely going to be on everybody's draft board, and I suspect that I could see him having a chance of making the NHL actually next year, to be honest with you. And then of course, you mentioned Quentin Byfield. I wouldn't. This is a much better year. I don't know if you guys recall last year, but last year going in the OHL, especially at the high end prospects, it really wasn't a lot. So I think there's just you're going to see a whole lot more color, I think, with regards to the OHL this year, but. Yeah, for me, it's Mark. I'm just interested to see where Mark Chromiak goes, and then for an outside pick, again, I'm going to stick with it because I've been with it at the start of the year. This isn't going to be someone that's going to blow anybody's socks off. But Zayt Wisdom for Kingston here, he wasn't on anybody's radar, and now you're looking at potentially a 4th round pick. So if you're somebody's looking for a strong forechecker who's gonna give you 100% effort, and if you have to drop the gloves and if you need a goal here or there, you can do that too. And I think people are going to be surprised more with Wisdom down the road when he's cracks an NHL team more so when he's drafted. But I would say that's someone that I'm sure people out west probably never even heard of him.
Yeah, I can't say that I have till now. I mean, as I said, I've watched some Byfield stuff, not really any full games, but just little bits and pieces. And Perfetti, of course, I've seen him. And then just
Edmonton could do good with. Edmonton could do good with a Brandon Coe maybe too. He's a big physical forward out of North Bay. I know he's probably ranked in the top couple rounds there. It's just another guy, just because I like his style. He's a very physical forward.
Yeah, and you're right though. There's more coming out of the O, it seems, this year than it was last year, at least in the top area. Obviously, as you get down in the rounds, there's always a number of them. But one of the things that, and I don't know if you know, is there anybody? Because I know you've been kind of watching the OHL for a while now. Any of these players that have come from the OHL that are in the Oilers system that you've had a chance to watch? And if you haven't, we can move on to something else. But, the guys like Maximov and that are in the system that, have you had a chance to see them in the Condors since they've played?
Well, I did. To be honest, I don't see much. I don't know how time to say AHL. I have a hard time keeping up with the Caps and the Oilers this year with here at Kingston now, but. I'm familiar with Max. I saw him play last year lots, and I mean, I thought he was a hell of a prospect. I was a little surprised actually how good he was when I saw him live, just because of his size and his speed, and he's got hands where you suspect that he's like that. At times he looks like he's Sam Gagner out there, but he's got Draisaitl's sort of size. So it depends. I'm just not sure of the consistency with him, I guess. I'm not sure how that translates to him in a long-term pro career, but he certainly has the skill set to do it. I mean, you name the tool, I think Maximov's got it all.
What's the foot speed?
Sorry?
What's his foot speed like?
Good, really good. I mean, he's like any big guy. He needs a few strides to get going, but and the nice thing with him, I always found too, is that when he's got the puck, he doesn't seem to slow down. And I'm sure in a roundabout way, without doing actual measurements, other unless you're McDavid maybe, who doesn't slow down, or Mike McDaniel in the past, or a Burry, someone like that. So he doesn't look like he slows down either. So he can certainly make moves at high speed, and he doesn't have the high end speed that he does, that McDavid has, but he's certainly got speed. I would say he's above average player with the puck.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought maybe you might. I know you had heard more about the Oilers and the Oilers system when you were out here out west, but now you're
Oh yeah.
in out there in Ontario, so you kind of forget about us a little bit.
Well,
I'm
and there's
sure.
no Oilers prospects here this year, right?
Yeah, there's
in
not
the
a one.
OHL, I should say.
Yeah, not a one. So it's kind of it is
So I
an
did
odd
get
year.
to see a couple at team. I did get to see a couple in Team Canada camp, as you recall. I saw Lavoie and the goaltender there.
Yeah.
Geez, forgive me. What's his name?
Rodrigue. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was at Team Canada camp in just before they left, before the cuts were made. So I got a chance to see those two, anyways, at camp. And it's a nice Lavoie. Certainly got a good shot, and you see that live. And it's just an unfortunate situation, I think, for the goalie coming in, because Nico Dawes had been having such a great year in the Ontario Hockey League, and then all the hoopla with Hunter Jones and just the sort of the background with him. So it was almost like Rodrigo was sort of in the back door a little bit coming in even, but it was nice to see all the guys play. But yeah, I mean, I only got to see him play two practices in the game, but he certainly looked good.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And so let's maybe switch back to the NHL for a bit. I mean, obviously we've got this break here. What you think this helps or hurts your guy Ovi's chance at breaking the goal scoring title? I mean, obviously it hurts just from a time perspective, but
Yeah.
I mean, he's a guy that's committed to the game, right? Do you think he can come back and is this going to hurt him at his age, taking this big stride off, I guess, like we're 4 weeks. I've even heard McDavid's getting a little bit antsy out there. So,
yeah, I mean, in the short term, yeah, it affects everybody. In I don't know if in terms of breaking Gretzky's goal records and stuff like that. I mean, really, it was going to be tough anyways, but this isn't the first time. I mean, he's already missed the whole season due to a strike. Another half season was his rookie year. He didn't play because of the strike, and then they had a half season somewhere else in there. And so, you look at that, that's already like whatever 100 games or so that he wasn't able to play in. And so, he's had this to the list, and that's just part of it. I mean, it is what it is. And it's not a whole season gone, mind you, and he had a decent season going anyway. So, yeah, every game obviously every game that goes by, it's going to be tough to break anyway. So, so the average has got to get higher, not less from now on. But in the short term, I think it was interesting because when the OHL ended, before we knew that the season was canceled, I actually was talking with Curtis Foster on the phone, and he was and Jacob Brahani, the captain of the Frontenacs. And so I was asking them what they're doing, aside from trying to just stay, busy, but what do they do in terms of hockey and being an athlete and trying to stay ready in case the season were to go on. And interestingly enough, the first thing they said is there's no ice. So Jacob had, he's working out in the barn all the time. And when I asked Curtis about that, and he just sort of said, well, I mean, everybody's in the same situation. And so I'm kind of looking at it now with the NHL, with everybody's back doing things. And these guys obviously have a little, likely most of them have a little better opportunity to stay in shape than some of the OHL guys, just simply because some of the OHL guys are like, they're literally going back to their parents' house, and, they're not going to have the big gym in their basement or whatever. So it's going to be easier, I think, for some of the NHL guys to stay in shape. But we all know hockey game shape. That's 4 weeks. That's a long time. And so I don't know what it looks like when we get out of this. But I mean, to me, every team is back to normal. And if they do have any type of playoff or even a quick run to seed teams, or if we do have anything like that, I don't care whether the Oilers, the Capitals, or the Florida Panthers. I think everybody's got a chance to win.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's going to be, it's funny. They did, I know they've been doing the run for the captains, right? And having all the captains, on a meeting, web conference with the, they're talking about, like, most of these players don't have gyms in their homes because they used to just go to the rink, or fair enough. They go to the office where they had the best equipment. McDavid, luckily, he said he built a gym when he built his place in Edmonton, so that he kind of lucked out in that regard, and can do some working out. But some of them have to be relatively creative, or I think by now they've probably ordered some equipment and put that in there and done that. But
Have you heard of guys skating, or like what? I seemed such an easy thing, and then the more I thought about it, as Curtis explained to me, and maybe it's a little different for junior kids. I don't know, because they can't just go run ice at the local arena right now, of course. So they're not even on the ice. And I guess maybe some guys who were up North Bay when it first happened, some of the ponds might have still been frozen, but even that's probably not the case now. So just some of those NHL guys, like, are they even able to get on the ice? Have you heard?
Yeah,
If they are, we're not hearing about it.
Yeah, and some
Seth,
of them might
Seth
be
Jones,
fake
I think,
guys,
is the
right?
only guy I've heard get on the ice.
That's
and
right. Yeah,
that's because he was injured.
Yeah, that's right. Seth got on the ice.
No, it's
so
crazy. So who knows? I mean, we could all come up with just as good of idea as the NHL right now. Let's be real. Like, who knows how this is going to play?
Yeah. So last question, and then we've got Bob joining us for the last hour here. And sure. Oh crap! I kind of went a little bit blank here because I'm thinking. Now I remember what I want to talk to you about. Have you heard that they're going to be doing a Gretzky OV interview, much like the McDavid and Gretzky interview? Did you hear about that yet?
Who's that now? TSN, or like who's the?
The NHL is going to be doing it. They're doing this. The NHL has been doing this Hockey at Home series, or I guess it's NBC. And so Gretzky and Ovechkin are going to be doing that in the next couple of days. So you may want to tune in. They just announced it this week. Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed the Gretzky McDavid interview. I think Gretzky probably enjoyed it the most out of everybody, but Gretzky seemed like he was having a ton of fun. And I think with Ovechkin's personality, that should be a good one.
Oh, I think it will. I think, if it wasn't, this isn't about a Gretzky Ovechkin thing, right? It's about a hockey record thing, and whether it's who's ever scored, Gretzky happens to be one owns the record, and Ovechkin happens to be one. And quite honestly, I don't know anybody else that would have it be as close as he is to doing it, at least for a long time now. So I mean, those two, I've seen, Gretzky's been at Washington Capitals games before, and obviously not, Washington's playing some Arizona, some you guys aren't watching, but Gretzky's been at the Capitals games before, and I've seen him in the box, and we've seen him talking with Ovechkin quickly in the dressing room and stuff, and so I expect, it'll be a very good conversation. They're both very colorful, they're both very flamboyant. One's sort of the master, one's the Padawan, and I think that's going to be good. I'm glad it's happens.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It is a hockey thing, right? And I can't just as much as you love Gretzky, being an Oilers fan, like I would still love to see the record broken, right? Like that's what records
I'd like to
are
see
there for.
What Oiler wouldn't want to see him at the very least get close? Even, let's just say he never beats him, but he comes within one. Wouldn't that be? It would be. I'm telling you, it would be wild. At least, I can't. I guess I get too easy for you to say, obviously, but I do think a lot of people would start paying attention if he got within like 50 goals or something. It would be quite the story. And I understand that. I lived in Edmonton for 10 years. I get it, and I'm not. And I am a Caps fan, so of course I want him to score, But it would be something to watch him just get close, even if he just got close.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that would be to me that would be exciting, and I think if you're a hockey fan, you gotta love Ovechkin in the NHL, right? Because he sort of epitomizes the guy that he's got the contract, he's got the everything, but you just know that he loves to play the game, right? And he loves everything about the game. And I think it was the best thing when he won the cup and everything that came after. It just, to me, really is, how we would all feel if we ever had a shot at it, right? That'd be great.
No, and remember, Ovechkin has always looked up to Gretzky and how, the way he scores goals. His favorite player was of course, Owen Nolan, but he's, his whole career he's talked about Gretzky. This is not like I want to break Gretzky's record because, I'm better than him or anything like that. If anything, it's an honor, and and he's trying to catch it. So, and you got to remember, like, Draisaitl with his 50-goal season, and it was a great season. But, I think anybody in Edmonton can tell you how hard that was to do. They weren't even in the playoffs, and they were helping them try to score goals in the last few games. And fair enough, lots of teams do it. I'm not taking away from it. What I'm suggesting is it's a very hard thing to do. And you think about Draisaitl, how many seasons he would have to do that just to even go where Ovechkin is right now. So it is quite an accomplishment. I would like to see him just get a little bit close, and we'll see from there. I thought he was going to break it for sure. Right now, I would say, my percentage is going down probably by the day until we get within 100 and he's still playing. I think that's the next time I'll start looking again. Right now, just let him score. And he's too far away for me. It's a possibility, but he's too far away yet for me to really worry about it.
Yeah, that's. It is. It is a. It's still far away. It's fun to think about, though, for sure, and fun to talk about.
Yep.
Anyway, Marcus, we got to get you back on. I mean, obviously, since you've moved, we haven't had you on very often, and it was fun. Sorry, it was a little bit late and delayed today, but we'll get you back on soon, and hopefully.
I missed the supper time hockey games.
Well, yeah, I bet. And, soon, maybe, hopefully, we can be talking about actual hockey, right? You have a good one?
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, and for those that
right,
are out there, this Marcus, is it Boutelier or Boutelier? I've never asked.
Yeah, like a boot and a leer jet, so Boutelier. And then, if you're ever interested in any OHL stuff, obviously, Sean, we get the information from him. He's also actually helping us out doing some Monday night stuff, so OHLnetwork.ca or at Boot Hockey, and so when the OHL season gets going, we'll be back getting some information out. And until then, I'm looking forward to see what goes on in the NHL because, another year goes by without McDavid. Well, it's another year goes by without Ovechkin too. So let's go.
Yeah, you bet.
It was good to hear your voice, Marcus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
All right, great. Thanks for coming on. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Bye. So that was Marcus Boutelier. We got Bob waiting on the line. What's up, Mike?
So what I was saying about that horse thing?
Yeah.
The NBA. So Easter Sunday, I guess, April 12th at 7 o'clock Eastern, they're going to put a little game of horse. I guess it's guys are like take a shot and the other guy has to do what they did if they make it or whatever. But they're doing it not from one location. It's from these guys' homes. But it's going to be televised, so that's new sports on TV. So,
all right.
On ESPN.
Yeah, on ESPN. All right.
Yeah.
The Ocho. ESPN, the Ocho. All right, we got Bob, who's waiting in the wings. Bob, you there?
Gentlemen, how are you this evening?
Doing all right. Thanks for joining. It's been kind of a weird start.
First off,
yeah, go ahead.
First off, let me just congratulate you guys for the guests that you guys have been getting. My goodness, was that ever good insight again from Marcus? And I don't know where you're finding these guys, Mike, but that's some quality stuff. So I'm going to do my part to flatten the curve for the quality of your podcast, unfortunately, but appreciate the opportunity.
Hey, I've been doing that the whole time, so well ahead of you. You know what? I appreciate you joining today, and we had a chance to talk to you, of course, on Monday, and of course, really appreciate you calling in a couple times and being our stats guy, our unofficial stats guy, I might add, and pay his shit. Yeah.
Can I make a complaint, Mike?
Yeah. Please.
Where's my theme music? Like,
we got
Brett gets it, and I don't need, and you don't, right?
I call in often enough now. There should be something like a 2-pad stack Bob or something like that. And I should have theme music. Come on.
Hey, yeah, I did. You know what? I even did an intro for Luchansky there. So maybe we'll have to get a Bob the Goalie Statsman intro.
I'll come up with something here. Just give me a second.
Yeah. And here he is.
It'll probably be a goal horn.
Coming to you live. Just outside Edmonton, Bob the Goalie. There you go. That's about the best you got so far.
That feels so professional.
Yeah, There, you know what? I try my best. You know what? Thanks for joining us. I was going to say one of the exciting things for me about starting the podcast was, I wanted fans, of the Oilers mostly, but hockey fans in general to come on the podcast because that's all I am, and so that's the main. Those have been the main guests of the podcast, right? Like myself, Dursa, right? Like guys like us that enjoy hockey, and so Bob, you fit well into that category, and you've got some good stories. You've been in and around the game, and in junior hockey and some other places, and so give us a quick rundown, Bob. One of the things we usually ask guests is how did let's first ask, are you an Oilers fan?
I'm a diehard Oilers fan.
All right.
And,
Okay.
unashamedly so, yeah.
You can stay.
Yeah, you can stay. So you've passed the first round. Now, give us an idea. How did you become an Oilers fan?
Kind of by accident. So, I first started hearing or getting whiff of the NHL when I was like 6 years old. So that's like 1981, and that's when the Islanders were winning the championship. So it was actually the Islanders that pulled me in to hockey. Mike Bossy was an instant attraction, and then I stumbled upon this book in the library about the original 6 goalies, and I saw all these goalies wearing no masks. And that blew me away as that was even an option. Like, how were people not dying? And I instantly became attracted to the goaltending position. And I was obsessed with goaltenders. And I started listening to the radio. My dad and I would listen to the Oiler games on the radio, Rod Phillips, because that's the only channel we got up there. So, and then you started hearing about like Grant Fuhrer and the way Rod Phillips was freaking out every Grant Fuhrer save. Like, this guy's got to be the best goalie in the world. And I became obsessed with Grant Fuhrer, and that's and naturally then all the other players followed, like Wayne Gretzky. And oh my goodness, to hear Rod Phillips call Wayne Gretzky is just like the religious experience is insane. So I definitely got attached to the Oilers by 1982, and I've been following them ever since, just hardcore.
Yeah, well, that'd be those would be good years to be an Oilers fan. There's no doubt. Yeah. So, do you have any family members that are Oilers fans, was it just you at the time?
Well, it was my dad and I at the time, and then my brother came on later. Dad, yeah. My brother's an Oilers fan, but he kind of goes in and out of consciousness with that. The older we got, and once we got TV, I'm kind of dating myself. But when we eventually got TV and I got to see the Oilers play live on TV, it was like all these guys I had imagined in my head just listening to the radio, I now saw live. And that was incredible. I'll never forget the first game I watched on TV on an old black and white snowy TV that you couldn't even distinguish where the puck was. But to me, that's as close as I ever got to a live game for ages.
Do you remember your first game?
Totally. Oilers, LA Kings. Gretzky was the Los Angeles King. The Kings won 4-2, and Gretzky had 2 assists.
Oh, nice. Was it one of his first games back?
No. How old was I? I was actually 14 or so. So whatever year that makes it, 1980. Well, yeah, would have been. So 1989, I think. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And so at the old, it was still called the Coliseum at that time, I think, right? That would have been prior
it
to.
Sure was, yeah.
What was it? What was the first name after the Coliseum? Was it Skyreach? Was that?
I want to think Skyreach, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember now.
It was Skyreach and then Rexall.
Yeah, was that it? Or did it? Yeah, I think that's it, right? Yeah, Skyreach and then Rexall. Yeah. I don't even remember when it changed to Skyreach. I just remember that one day I realized it was Skyreach. I'm sure it was all over the news, but I didn't cover it at the time.
Did you ever get to skate at the Coliseum?
Yeah, actually, a number of times. I've probably skated there. We do practices there. I've played a couple games there growing up. It was, it was fun. Never got to play there, though, where they used the scoreboard. my understanding is if you wanted to light the scoreboard up, it cost you like an extra $1,000 or something. So that would have been a lot more fun though, right? Like to get the full experience. But I had a couple hockey games there, the whole deal. I do remember. I remember it was a lot of fun, right? Like it was kind of neat. How about yourself?
Well, here comes the first story, I guess. Then, I was a firefighter in Grand Prairie, and one of the guys there used to play hockey with in North Dakota. So he was actually teammates with Curtis Joseph back then, and whatever, or not Notre Dame, right? That was.
Yep.
And he was childhood friends with Sean Brown, and so they'd be texting back and forth, and Sean Brown was an Oiler, obviously, as you will remember. And one day they just decided to have a challenge. So he challenged Sean to get a bunch of hockey guys together, and then Jason, my buddy in the department there, was going to get a bunch of hockey guys together, and we'd play just a charity game sort of thing, right? Just a fun game. They were just trash talking each other. So and he knew I was a goalie, and I was okay. So he asked me to be his goalie. So of course we're going to play in Edmonton, but nobody knew where yet.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, about a week before the game, they say it's going to be at Northlands. I'm like, oh my goodness. I get to play on the same ice that Gretzky skated on, stand the same crease that Grant Fuhr stood in, and so many other greats. So yeah. I was on board. We get to Northlands Coliseum. It's after hours. And not only has Sean Brown rounded up some college guys and what have you, there's a couple of Oilers playing. So we had, so we did this 3 or 4 times. So I keep blending which year was which, but throughout those years, we had guys like Dan Cleary would be playing, Igor Ulanov playing one year.
Yeah.
Jim Dowd was there, Frank Musial was there one year. So we got to play, I got to play goal against these guys. We lost every game, but it was just a fun little challenge. So it was a huge thrill.
Yeah, that sounds like it would have been a lot of fun. So you did, you played goal. Did you make it to junior or anything in that?
So I've been very blessed and fortunate. First time I had goalie equipment on, like I said, I was obsessed with being the goalie. But we didn't come from a pretty well-to-do background, so playing minor hockey wasn't an option for us. So the first time I had goalie equipment on, I was 17 years old, just at an outdoor rink. Now, I'd played goal road hockey and floor hockey a bunch of times, but never on the ice. Yeah. And so first time I was 17, and then when I was 18, I entered the draft in our local senior league up north. I'm originally from La Crete, and my brother and I went in as one goalie because we had one set of equipment. So we would alternate games as the goalie in that league. And then, unfortunately, he got into a huge car accident. And then, so I played the rest of the time. And we were a crappy team. So I was getting 60 plus shots a game. So you either get good or you give up. And, luckily I did all right. And then when I came to Grand Prairie, I tried out for the Junior B Vipers in Sexsmith. I was living in Sexsmith. I played 4 games for them and just realized this is terrible hockey. There's I'm looking to play the best hockey I can, and this wasn't it. So I joined the Industrial League at first, but then I ended up going to the first year that became the Grand Prairie Storm. So I went and skated with them, and they weren't in the AJHL yet. Just the Rocky Mountain Junior Hockey League, I think it was called. And I played 4 games there as well and realized this is crap as well.
Were you playing out of the Johnny Mack, Bob?
No, they were already in the Canada Games arena. Yeah,
okay.
But I remember watching them. The Chiefs, they were called back in the Johnny Mack days. So yeah.
Oh, jeez.
And and then just played Industrial, and then I actually ended up getting scouted. I went to play senior with the Grand Prairie A's Athletics, and they were shit back then, which is probably why I made the team. But do you know the name Chris Schmidt Durza from Beaver Lodge?
Yeah, I'm not. No, I can't put a name to the face if that's what you're asking me. No.
But I know you know the Walker guy that came from there that played in the LA
Matt
Kings
Walker
system
from
for a bit.
Beaver Lodge, I think, ended up playing with the Blackhawks. Yeah.
Yeah. So Chris Schmidt is also from Beaver Lodge, and he was in the Kings organization, and he hurt his knee in the minors and decided to do his rehab in Grand Prairie. He hadn't been back home in a while, and he actually came and skated with us with the A's in practices and what have you. And he brought his agent with him because they were just good buddies, and his agent had never been up in Grand Prairie before, so just take a break. And the agent was watching me play, and he just liked the way I played, and he ended up calling a scout of his that was a buddy, and said, if you're ever in this area, you should come check this guy out. And now I'm 25 now at this point, so realistically, not that I had any realistic aspirations of making the NHL. It's always a dream, right? But at 25, you're well past that point. So, and his scout buddy was going to Fort Mac to watch 2 junior players there in the AJHL, and just decided, I'll swing by Grand Prairie on the way back. Doesn't hurt to take a look.
On the way back
came
to
and watched
where?
me play
It's
and
totally
sat me
out of the
down.
way from everywhere. If you're
when you live in Ontario though, and you look at the map, it probably doesn't look that far away from there. So
nice.
What's a 4 hour?
He came down and watched me play. And then I played probably about 4 games while he was there, and then he took me out for supper, and we had a talk, and he said, the mark I got on his scouting report, like, I have to invite you to a pro camp somewhere. Like, I have to recommend it. He gave me good advice though. He says, you're 25. If you do go to camp, just take it for what it is. Enjoy the ride, right? Because realistically, what are you going to give the team, right?
Bob, can I tell you something?
Yeah.
The Oilers picked up a 40-year-old rookie just before the playoffs in the 90s, named Gordy Marks from Irma, Alberta, about 40 minutes from where I played my minor hockey. 40-year-old rookie.
So I shouldn't give up yet, Durza, or what?
Yeah.
You're saying there's still a chance.
Yeah, there's still a chance. You just never know. Hey.
But I got so I went to camp for the East Coast Hockey League Mississippi Sea Wolves. They're Phoenix Coyotes, one of their farm teams back then. I was only there for 4 days, and then the St. Louis Blues picked me up, and I went to the Peoria Roadrunners and did the rest of the camp there. And I actually got to play an exhibition game. That's as far as I got, and then I came back and played some more seniors. So.
Oh, right on. Well, you know what? I mean, that's kind of cool. You got a chance to travel a little bit, play some hockey, and then you, when you got back, I know that you've done some coaching. When did you start coaching?
Right off the bat, I was involved with any kind of goalie coaching I could do. I love helping younger goalies. At one point there, before I left Grand Prairie, I was helping out probably about 11 different minor hockey teams with their goalies. And that's my biggest passion, is helping goalies. And I was a goalie coach for the Grand Prairie Storm one year. I got to go to Lethbridge Hurricanes training camp. I got asked to help with their goalie evaluations for the training camp one year. And then the rest was just I started head coaching and assistant coaching in the Junior B League up in the Grand Prairie area.
Oh, right on. And how long were you up in the Junior B League there?
I coached there for 4 years. 2 years with Sexton Vipers and 2 years with the Fairview Flyers.
Oh, right on.
Bob, is that SPHL? Is that what that's called?
In Grand Prairie there?
The Vipers and Flyers South Peace Hockey League, or is that senior hockey?
No, the Flyers stuff is NWJHL, so it's the Northwest Junior Hockey League.
Okay.
Yeah. So I played senior up there in the NPHL for the Fairview Kings for a couple of years too. 2 years with the Grand Prairie A's, 2 years with the Fairview Kings, and then 1 game with the Spirit River Rangers.
You still get out and play?
Just as a skater. My goalie days are behind me. I've had 3 knee surgeries from my goalie days, and so doctor's recommendations that couldn't play anymore.
You know,
side to side,
which was probably the toughest pill I've ever.
I know a number of goalies that are in their 40s, and I've always been, amazed, right, just with the toll it takes on the knees and the movements. The one thing, though, that I've always found there is, and I don't even remember his name. I just know every alumni tournament that I've ever played in, every goalie, every alumni NHL goalie is not in net. They refuse to play in net. they all will. They'll all go as a skater, but they won't play in net, with the exception of one guy. And for the life of me, his name's not coming to me. But yeah, I've never seen. I've never played against. It wasn't. Oh man, I wish I remembered his name. But I was just curious because and most of the time, any guys that I know that have played net, and you're all a little bit weird in your own way. But most of the guys that I know, and I should, when I say that, you're all a little weird. Still better than Stripes out there, but they refuse. If they've played any type of competitive hockey, they won't play anymore. They just either they're not into it anymore, or knees or something, some joint is bugging them. So. Yeah, interesting. That's it's good. So, do you get out quite a bit?
This year, unfortunately, I only got to skate once, which is the least amount I've skated in probably since I started playing hockey. So, I don't have any connections here in Edmonton when it comes to hockey, and there's not too many teams that are looking for a 44-year-old forward with bad knees. So, limited choices. So, but I scrimmage here with some guys from Beaumont here every Friday night, usually. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you start getting into the into the 40s, I mean, if you find a team, they'll probably, that's not going to be super ultra competitive. We got a couple of leagues in. Of course, I'm based in Calgary that have some, good players. There's the Heritage League over 35. Is even before he passed away, there's Arlie Zalapsky was playing in that league. It was pretty fun.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, so there are a couple of good leagues still out there with some older guys and that, but I wouldn't say there's a ton out there anymore. I mean, you're not going to go play senior hockey or anything like that. It'd just be
well, I'll tell you this,
it's hard when you're in your 20s. Right?
I miss being a goalie with all of my heart. Like that was my biggest passion, and every year still. And I now haven't played goal in 7 years. Beginning of the season still hurts because I wish I could play goal. I can relate to the guys who don't play goal anymore, and I think it's not so much as not wanting to. It's because it takes such a toll on you. Like some of these older guys, I don't know a single retired goalie who's played any decent level that hasn't had knee surgery of any sort. So it definitely take a beating. But I have to wear knee braces and stuff now when I play ball. But I wouldn't have traded it for anything. I would take those 3 knee surgeries any day to and play goal.
So I got to ask you, because you're probably the first guy that has had any type of coaching experience on the program. I mean, a lot of us have had viewing experience, or maybe we've coached our kids or something like that. I've done none of the above. In fact, I'm not even sure they'd let me near a team to coach them. The systems I'd put in place would be would be fired before you know it. What kind of coach would the players have said you were?
I considered myself a player coach. Now, whether the players will say that or not, I'm not sure. But I was big on communication. I definitely had an open door policy for guys to come in and chat, hockey or otherwise related. But I can be tough when it needed to. Like especially when you get a junior hockey, it's no longer about equal ice time, right? So you can bench guys and you go for wins. Wins are important. So. And with that you need to have a strict hand at times and straighten some ships out and what have you. But so I feel like I was strict when I needed to be, but still could be a buddy to anybody that wanted to come address me. But like I said, if you want to get an honest evaluation, you'd have to contact any of my ex-players, which I will refuse to give you any numbers for.
I'm already doing some sleuthing on the interwebs here to find we're gonna get the Bob expose going on here. People are gonna know the truth. Oh man, yeah.
I thought you wanted to keep things positive.
That's right. That's right. Did you have was there a coach that you kind of idolized that you thought, and even now today that you think of that's one of your favorites?
Like in the NHL?
Yeah, wherever. NHL, otherwise, was there anybody that you would have modeled yourself after if you were to continue coaching?
I had a good buddy named Neil McGill, and we coached together for a couple years. In fact, he got Coach of the Year one year in the Northwest Junior Hockey League. We also played hockey together for years, and I considered myself a knowledgeable hockey guy, and especially when it came to doing scouting reports on the kids and what have you. But what this guy was seeing, things he was picking up, his observational skills, his detail in his reports was just phenomenal. And he's a good friend of mine, only about 2 years older than I am. And to be honest, I picked up a lot just from spending every waking minute with the guy when talking hockey. Like, we go out to Denny's at 11 o'clock after a practice and sit there till we got kicked out, just talking hockey. And that's a wisdom like that I had not found in any of my peers before. So it was incredible.
Yeah. It's awesome. I mean, I think, there's, one of the things that I've taken away since I've started this, since the podcast and the live streams and that, is just how many elements there are to hockey and how everybody has to have, everybody's got their own specific thing. You can't be great at all of them, right? Like, if you're a goalie, you do goalie things, right? If you're a coach, you do coach things, right? And the same as scouts. Like, some of them will watch skaters, some of them will watch goalies, and rarely do they know both, right? And so it's interesting to kind of hear that. Obviously you were a goalie, and then you take that to coaching. And coaching's not about how highly skilled of a player you are, right? It's about understanding systems and getting getting the players motivated and following along and all of those different things.
One of the biggest keys I found was skill is great, but you need there's so many different roles on a team. So you need to be able to identify a player's role, communicate with that to him, and then fit him in that spot. And have him embrace that role. And you see the best out of your players when you establish a role for them that they believe in and they're so passionate about, that they give 100%. Like, I've seen guys who were second tier scorers in minor hockey, and now junior hockey they got to become checkers. But you encourage them with the checking game that they have. You see the role that they could play on our team, and you pump them up for that. I mean, they become your hardest checkers out there. And that's always one of the thrilling parts about coaching.
Holy shit, guys. The biggest spider I've ever seen in my house is on the wall right now. And I'm like...
Bob,
sorry,
when you
Mike, you take this
you
away.
played
I
in
got a
Spirit
spider
River,
to kill.
who was your coach?
Keith Soberwold had just gone there. Skinny had gone over there. So sorry. No, that's wrong. It was Mel
Volman, the institution. Yeah. He shut her down in Spirit River a few years ago, and the Rangers shut her down too when he walked away. They don't have a team anymore.
Well, he was the Spirit River Rangers. And,
exactly. Yeah.
I didn't get to associate much with him. Like, I played against him all the time for the most part. But they had the one game, and so I didn't really have much communication with him. And what I liked about him, the little bit I saw, was just that he was straightforward, didn't pull any punches. So he just told you what he felt, and you just soaked it in and dealt with it.
Yeah, they've kind of lost their franchise.
North Peace Hockey League is actually an underrated league. It's a good hockey, but it's just not stable. You lose teams all the time, and then you get new teams in, and there's so much shady stuff going on under the table. You're not supposed to be paying your players because it's an amateur league, but I got paid to play in Fairview, and I know so many guys that got paid. When Horse Lake was in the league, they paid me $100 just to come to a practice one time to give me so their goalies could have a break, and that's when Theo Fleury and Gino
They
Ojic
were flying
there.
Theo and Gino in, so yeah.
Yeah. So that's not amateur stuff, but the hockey itself was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. Like since I was a kid, there was always a Spirit River Ranger team, right? And I'm 43, so they've been an institution, but they are no more. I think it's been maybe 5-6 years they haven't had a club anymore.
Yeah, and that rink is crap too, though. That's the problem. So,
well,
good ice, but the rink itself is always.
They redid that arena. Hey, I don't know if you knew that, but they.
Oh, okay.
They put, I think, almost $250,000 into that thing. So.
You guys, I've lost the spider.
Oh, good for them.
I have lost the spider. I have no idea. like, if I
thought you were gonna say I lost the stream.
If you're watching the stream right now and you see me go down, I just want you all to know that I think you're all really great people.
Look on the bright side, Mike. It could be a radioactive one, and it bites you, and you become the new Spider-Man. So there you go.
Man. This,
Mike,
honestly, it's like it's almost an inch. It's an inch big. It's huge.
Michael, you
got no idea where it is.
Get you into a habitable place.
Oh man, obviously.
Are you seeing the comments on Facebook, Mike?
I just hold on. Yeah.
We need a.
Oh man, I get to see all the comments. Nobody's asked what the hell I'm doing or where I'm looking at yet.
This might end up being our best stream. Yeah,
you're
afraid of a spider.
Normally spiders don't really affect me too much, but if the family saw this spider as I did, this has got to be like literally. I would normally just take like a. I've got a weapon here. I'm waiting to see it, and anyway, that's huge. I don't know what I'm not a spider guy, so I have no idea what kind of spider it could be. But this one was it was probably the biggest single spider I've ever seen in. I've seen some big ones in California and places like that. Anyway, this spider would be a hell of a hockey player, I bet you.
Tarantula is alive and well in Calgary. You got a tarantula outbreak.
That's part of what I'm wondering about here. I'm like, bloody hell! I've literally never seen a spider this size. And now the worst part is it's gone, so I don't even know where it is. But it's around here somewhere, and one day I'm going to be doing a podcast, and you're going to see me shit myself live stream because
pictures, Michael, or it never happened.
Well, I know. I actually should have. What I should have done is move the camera so that. Well, anyway, this ceased to be a hockey podcast about 2 minutes ago when I started talking.
I like this better, Mike. I don't know.
Yeah, you guys should be worried about my safety here. Is all I'm saying.
There's a definite an arachnophobia around your home.
I literally don't hate spiders, but this guy, this guy's a big one. Anyway, he's probably laying babies somewhere, and
there you go.
I'm gonna have a whole family of spiders, and I'm gonna be isolated inside with them. Wow. Hey, maybe it's like some kind of COVID-19 mutation.
You found the anecdote.
Yeah, I don't know.
He will eat the coronavirus.
That is crazy. I can't. You know what? I can't tell the family about this. They will not sleep tonight.
So I'm taking it.
They're all listening.
Oh, they hate spiders. And here's the thing, I can't keep a secret. I know I'm gonna ever watch The Office? I'm like Michael Scott, he can't keep a secret.
Yeah.
I'll do my damnedest not to tell them about the big ass spider, and then I will, and then nobody will sleep tonight, and it'll all be my fault. Oh man, sorry to derail your big debut on the podcast here, Bob, but this is kind of
Spider-Gate.
Spider's got probably more interesting things to say than I do.
on the on YouTube there, my buddy Brad says, sounded like you were taking a moose down. You all good? I was like, oh man. Okay. So if I'm not looking at the camera, folks that are watching on the reason is because I've seen something move on the side of my eye now, and I wish I hadn't. All right. Okay. Well, this will go on the blooper reel for Oilers Live. That'd be great. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening in. Okay. So where were we? I know you guys were talking some junior hockey and the like. What did you, Bob? Did you hear the news about Slepyshev? What did you think there?
Yeah, I heard it. I don't think it's a. I'll be honest. I don't think it's a big loss. I didn't mind him, but I think we have guys that can do that role and more. So I think Holland showed good faith in reaching out to him and giving him another shot. And Slepyshev obviously is comfortable playing over in Russia, and if that's where he wants to stay, so be it. Like I said, I didn't mind him, but I don't think it's a loss. We have guys who can do that and some.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. And do you, when I look back though, and we've had enough time to go back and start watching old games and that, and I see Slepyshev, I don't know that he ever got his due in Edmonton. Like I actually would have liked to see him back, and he's grown in the KHL. It's a different league, obviously. But I would have liked to see him back and see exactly what kind of player we have with Tippett at the helm. That would have been fun. I think that the odds are, and if I had to think about it though, is that given the cap situation and that with the Oilers, we couldn't offer him enough to keep him. He's a star in the KHL, right? Like he's
European hockey itself is like it's a different fish. I got to play over in a tournament in Slovakia many years ago, and I don't know what they thought because we were representing Canada. They thought it was a stacked team, but we were not a stacked team, so we lost every game we played. But the hockey over there is so different. So I can see if you grew up playing that hockey, that transition to come over here, like that's got to be a huge eye opener. Like it's so wide open over there. It's insane.
Yeah, and I mean, I've heard actually this go back to the goalie thing, right? I mean, we were talking about Koskinen last year. The way the puck goes to the net, right, in in the KHL or otherwise, is a lot different than the way it goes to the net in North American hockey, right? And my understanding, right, like if you're in the European leagues, the shots are from further out, right? Like and of course the ice is bigger in most of the leagues out there, but the shots are from further out. There's that part. Whereas in the NHL, you got a lot, down front and in low, or in the North American League in general, right, with the size of the ice and that you got to be better prepared for those rebounds and that kind of a game. So it's a different style of play, and if you're not used to it, it might account for a little bit of why it took Koskinen a year to adjust, and he's kind of done well now. But I
had a small sample size of European hockey, and it was that small sample size was such an eye opener because my style is definitely suited for the North American style. When I say style in air quotations, but I know here in North America, like if they make a pass, cross crease pass, back in my day, I did the old 2-pad stack, and I'd be there and stop the puck. Whereas in Slovakia, they do the cross ice pass, I do the 2-pad stack. They just wait for me to slide by them and slide in the empty net because nobody hits anybody there. Like here in North America, you have no room. You got to get that shot away before you get killed. Whereas in Europe, you can stand there and read a book for a while and then pop in the empty net once I've stood by you.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Mike. You got a question?
Schlepp, I think why I'm not broken up about it, but I think he was built to kind of handle the NHL game. Like he's a sturdy forward, uh, not quite what I would call a power forward, but kind of on the verge of that. He's a solid guy. He's big. He's strong. He's got decent wheels and just that heavy shot. So, I think it would have been nice to have him, but I'm wondering if he wanted to be like a top 6 guy and that was part of why it fell through, or the money just wasn't quite enough for him. But I think Holland put an offer there that made him think a little bit about coming over, because he didn't jump to the KHL instantly. It took a day and a half for him to re-sign there. So and I think what kind of tipped off a few people thinking okay he was going to come was the picture his wife put on her Instagram of their little guy in an Oiler jersey. So, that shows me that, Anton doesn't hate the Oilers. Like there's still a little bit of a connection there, but it just wasn't quite enough, I guess. And I'm not sad about it. It would have been all right. But I look at some of the guys that Holland brought in here, he's not going to take away a spot from Archibald. He's not going to take away, I don't think, a spot from Cheyenne. Those are guys that are fourth line or third line capable guys, but can fill a role. Like they're good penalty killers. I just don't think Schlepp is that penalty kill guy. So it's not the end of the world that he's not here.
Yeah, I think we've got a solid team. I totally agree with you. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Bob.
He is he's in his prime. He's 25 years old. And you're right. He's 30 guy. Like I see him. He's at 6'2", 221 pounds. They have him listed as. And from what I remember, decent speed. I don't remember his shot as well as you do, Durza, but I do remember he could throw his weight around too. Like he was a pretty good body checker for a guy who used to playing European hockey. But in the end, and I agree with you as well, Mike. Maybe we didn't give him a fair chance. He usually played bottom 6 minutes, but I do think the guys we have now. Bill can replace him and more.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that. So what's the other news that come out today? Well, we're talking about the playoffs and the NHL looking at, or at least considering not canceling the season just yet. What are some of the playoff scenarios that you've kind of liked the best? I mean, the one obviously about them playing in a single city, that's one interesting one. Maybe they'll go the way of the UFC there and buy a small island somewhere and build an arena. Which that one's the crazy one. I didn't even know about that until somebody posted, "Why doesn't Bettman do this?" or something like that. And I'm like, that's a crazy. It's
because
crazy
building an arena and putting in an ice plant and having it at NHL like caliber can happen just like that.
I know. So anyway, what are some of the scenarios, Bob, if any, that you've kind of liked about playoff scenarios, whether it's the format or location or capability? And do you think we'll have a season, like a final to the season?
I'm optimistic. I think we will, and maybe that's just me living a fairy tale life, but I like to think that we will have a season or finish the season. I think, this one location thing, that's fine. I don't care how they do it. Empty buildings, I don't care how they do it. I think it's also, we're going to need normalcy back at some point, not just sports, but with other things. And it's also good for just people's mental health. Like, we're all going crazy with everybody's watching the Tiger Show, which I refuse to get into. But
I did it this weekend.
Oh, did you? Yeah. How bad has it become?
I think that's a sign of us going crazy.
Yeah. Oh,
you watched
we need some
4,
of that.
and then it's just redundant anyways. You've seen it all. It's
I refuse to go down that road. It's a gateway drug to other crappy documentaries, probably.
You'd be watching the Kardashians.
I'd like to see something. I looked at the standings today, and everybody's played between 68 and 71 games. So I'd like to see something like do a 2-week regular season where maybe it might have to be more. I'm not sure, but let's get to 75 games. Get everybody to 75 games. So some teams, everybody gets a minimum of 4 games, and then do the playoffs from there. I don't think it's that realistic to do an 82-game season. You're looking at crossing over into training camps in the beginning of next season if the playoffs go on forever. I'd still like to see the playoffs go 7 games series. That might have to be amended for the first round or something. I'm not sure, but anyway they get it done. I do think it's crucial. And I'm saying that as a selfish hockey fan, it's crucial to get the game back.
Yeah. No, I selfishly, I mean, I want the Oilers to have a shot at the playoffs. We've waited too long, right? Like, I mean, we had the, taste of it, but we need some. And even more now after having watched Gretzky and McDavid, and Gretzky saying, like, with certainty that McDavid's going to win a cup. He's just too good. It's like, now it's in my veins. Like he said it, Now,
Thanks, Wayne.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was completely unnecessary comment to make, right? Because now, like, yeah, that's exactly it. Like now, I really want it, the cup back sooner than later. And the greatest hockey player to ever play the game said it's going to happen. Who am I to argue with that?
Well,
right?
It's the gospel truth when it comes from the book of Wayne, chapter 9, verse 9. So,
that's exactly right. Yeah, I mean 100%. Like, and he says that on a year where we're not even gonna get playoffs for sure. Like we don't know. I mean, I really hope that they come back and play at least a little bit. I
say test both teams before a game. Test them both before the game, and then send them out there and play. But obviously, like I don't know all the logistics behind it, and a lot of it's wishful thinking. But I do think where there's a will, there's a way. So if they really want this season to end, with the Stanley Cup playoffs, they'll find a way.
I post on
Twitter
that. I posted on Twitter that there's a spider the size of a small car in the studio. So of course everybody's tuning in to see if I, it's like reality TV now. See if he gets bitten. Let's watch his face puff up.
You're probably
like
trending, Mike.
Fish. Yeah, it's trending. You don't doubt that for 1 second. Anyway, go ahead, Mike. Sorry,
I was gonna say then if you're trying to do it and kind of move things along, I think there's only one way to make that happen. You can test every player, but you're playing in empty buildings. You're playing without fans, and honestly, I'd be okay with that. But is it gonna have the same feel?
Of course not. It won't have the same feel, but it will give us something to be invested in while we're going crazy, staring at our walls.
Yeah, that's true. I refuse to stare at the wall right now.
And then I think if you're gonna do that, well, the Fantasy Island arena in theory is a good idea, but yeah, you're playing in some neutral location that hasn't had a major outbreak yet, so I don't know where that actually is, but live from
Greenland.
Live from Yellowknife. It's the New York Rangers against the Vancouver Canucks or whatever. Yeah.
It'll be anybody's playoffs, with that kind of a break, right? I mean, they come back and they, who knows? I think when you take 4 weeks off, that's a new season, right? Like this is it's not, that's the part that I have trouble sort of swallowing right now is no matter when they come back, if it's, June, July or whatever, this is not the same season anymore, right? It's not like you started a season and went, got some standings in and then did a playoffs based on on those standings. You're going straight into a brand new season. This
is reverting back almost to the 1980s when they took a summer off. They took a summer off. Like guys now don't take too many days off where they're not on ice skating.
Yeah, no, 100%, right? Like they and that's the other part too, right? Is I'm, I've seen some early jokes about who's coming back weighing 20, 30 pounds heavier.
Phil Kessel.
And Kessel's definitely number one on my list.
Yeah.
And but that's the other thing, right? Like the guys that don't have the access or the like most of the players are fairly determined, but not all of them, right? Like some of them need somebody over their shoulder to tell them that they need to get their ass moving and working out, and they need the the Gary Roberts type of training, right, to move forward. And some of them are, can do it on their own, but some just, don't, right? Like they need the team and they need everything around it in order to stay focused. Ethan Bear's a good example, right? Like if he had gone through the motions earlier, he'd probably be twice the player he is today already, right? But when he finally realized what it took, right, from a personal level, he's taken it upon himself and done what needs to be done. Now you take him out of that
I think
support system, though, right?
Look at it from this angle too. I think it has the potential. It actually has the potential of it being one of the best playoffs ever. You got all these teams now that are having their injuries. Guys coming back from injury. They're going to be rejuvenated. They're going to be pumped to get out there. Almost every team is going to be at full strength. And so you have the potential of having an unbelievable playoff series going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have a little bit of that, but, if they, say they scrapped and ended the regular season and went by point percentage and vaulted right into the playoffs, let's face it, it's going to take probably 2 to 3 weeks of hockey before they're playing their best hockey again because they haven't been playing hockey for a month. So, there's talk.
I 100% agree, Durza.
Yeah, there's talk that they'll do a training camp and then, get into it. But even so, as well as I do, there's a bit of a timing thing that goes on when you haven't played for a while. So that's going to be a part of it. The other thing that goes into my head is, Rogers Place in the middle of July, middle of August, I think you can still have reasonable quality ice. But if we're talking, and most of the Southern California teams aren't going to be in the playoffs, but say Tampa Bay, even Boston, New York City in August, when it's 95, 100 degrees Fahrenheit out and ultra high humidity, that ice becomes really shitty. So that's something that'll play in. So maybe a neutral site location like Yellowknife, for example, or somewhat up north that doesn't get the, really 40-degree Celsius weather, high humidity, is something to think about.
Yeah.
My first training camp in Mississippi, Biloxi, Mississippi, at the beginning of the season for training camp, it is the worst ice I've ever been on. That's Louisiana, right? Mississippi, that country. It's humid all the time. The ice is like rubber. Like the puck is rolling all the time.
Gosh.
So when I hear the guys playing like San Jose is the worst ice, like it's probably for similar reasons. Like
Slurpy ice. Yeah.
Oh, brutal.
Yeah. Well, there's like what was it in '88, right? Like the fog on the ice, in
Boston,
those years in Boston, and that's just the like when you get to that kind of heat and that you get all sorts of things happening in those rinks, and if they're not fully set up, although they're a lot better than they were then, but still,
that was the old Boston Gardens.
Yeah.
Poor ventilation and the lights didn't work half the time and what have you.
Yeah, well, I remember that ended up. That game was crazy, right? Like all the lights went out, and
we're gonna try again later.
yeah, that's basically. It's like watching one of my podcasts live stream, right? Sorry, guys.
There's a spider.
we're gonna try this again. We are going to try this again. Yeah. Hey guys, we got 5 minutes left. It's one thing I've got at Condors fan watching on Periscope, and I just want to. He says to everybody, hope Colby Cave gets better. Which we all definitely agree on, I think. And
Up.
yeah, and then he also says he hopes the Oilers re-sign Cave. I think that assuming that he pulls through, which we'll all keep our fingers crossed and thoughts and prayers and all of that stuff, then I like Cave as a player. He was a good utility player, and when he came in, he
there's a sad
everything.
reality to this that I should probably bring up. His hockey career, as we know it, might be over.
Oh yeah, 100%. Right, like that is the downside to what's going on for sure. Yeah.
First priority is that he regains consciousness and is still with us.
Yeah, his wife's message today. Oh man, just really broke me.
That was unbelievable, eh?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you're listening earlier, Bob, but I was in a meeting when I read it, and of course, every meeting now has video, and I'm trying not to break down in the meeting. I was just like got emotional reading that. Unbelievable. Yeah. So, but,
of course I listen, Mike. I don't miss a minute of your stuff.
Good. Yeah. So anyway, on to later things. We got a few minutes left. Bob, anything that you've been dying to say while listening in? And...
No, like I said Monday when I called in, I do have tons of stories, but
we're gonna get you
I might
back
have to
on.
save some of them for another time.
Yeah, no, it's not your last time on here. You're gonna be back for sure. Enjoyed having you. Enjoyed having you watch and communicate with us and be our stats guy and all of that great stuff. Everybody knows.
Well, I was going to touch on that there, Mike. Like the stats thing. Like I'm a stats nerd. I'm a hockey nerd. I don't know these stats off by heart. My memory's terrible, but I am a chronic stats checker. Like, not that I believe the stats are what tell the story, but I just love the numbers aspect of the game, and so I actually enjoy doing little shit like that. That's not a big deal, but that's also gives the illusion that I'm intelligent. I trust me, I'm just looking stuff up.
Well, we need somebody to keep us honest on here, so it's glad to have you doing that.
Persistent illusion, I come across as intelligent. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, wish me luck.
Hey, I was
tonight.
a goalie.
Oh,
I was
sorry,
a goalie. That's the most intelligent guy on the ice.
Said.
Yeah. I've got. Well, next time we have you on, we'll come rolling with some goalie jokes because there are a few out there. There are a few. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
What was your nickname? Did you have one? Swiss?
Oh, I had like my last name is. What was that?
I said, did they call you Swiss? I said.
I'd probably call that myself. So, I've been called, my last name is Schmitz. I've been called Schmitty, and when I have a bad game, it obviously changes to Shitty. So I got called that more often than Schmitty probably. But
that's unfortunate.
You name it. Sometimes they name you after a goalie. They give you like the red light Rassicle if you're having a bad game or like that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I didn't ever have a really good. They always called me Heebs. That was it. Heebs.
Yeah. Guys tend to use the last name more than anything else.
Oh yeah, hockey nicknames are the worst. Yeah.
One of the best chirps I ever got was from my own defenseman, and he was a good defenseman. We had a good relationship, but he kept standing in front of me to block the shots, or when he was trying to move the guy out of the way, he'd be screening me. So, and this was happening again, so I hollered at him, get out of the way, get out of the way. And he goes, why? You're just going to let it in then? I'm like, good point.
I've had a few goalies like that in my playing days. All right. Everybody have a great long weekend. Have a great Easter. And thanks for tuning in, listening, all of that jazz. Thanks for caring about the spider and everything else.
Thoughts and prayers.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me on. It was a blast. I love the show, and I'll keep calling in because I like interacting with you guys. But I appreciate you having me on as a guest today. It was a thrill for me.
Yeah, well, we'll be back on Monday with Mr. Luchansky, who, by the way, when I released the show for live stream, I forgot to change the announcement, and so it said Mega Thread Monday and Brett Luchansky on there. So nobody knew what was going on. Might explain the ratings is how I put it, but all right. That's an early dig on Stripes there for Monday's show. Yeah. All right. Okay, guys. Have a great night, and hope to talk to you both soon.
Have a good night, guys.
Yeah, you too.
Take care, Bob.
And we're still streaming. And we're out of here. Good night, everybody.